it's so good to see you. I'm glad that we're doing this.
Yeah, me too.
Very excited. So how are you doing today? Like what's going on with you? You put the kids down? It's bright
Oh,
outside. How do you sleep with
husband's upstairs putting the eldest to bed, who's 2, and the other one's in the living room sleeping at the minute.
So you have two children? Two,
Yeah,
and what's the other one?
he's 20 weeks.
Oh my gosh, it's just little.
Yeah, so I'm hoping he doesn't wake up.
Oh, that's amazing. I love little ones. Mine are so big. So I have a 17-year-old and 11, nowhere near your little babies, but it goes by so fast. So as you probably already know that already.
Yeah, I just can't wait to get out the nappy stage now.
Yeah. Oh, so cute. So do you want to tell me a little bit about your story and just, introduce
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. So I'm Claire. I'm obviously from Coventry in the UK. I'm 38 years old. I got diagnosed when I was 37 and I was 20 weeks pregnant. So it was a bit dark, made my pregnancy really dark. I didn't really accept that I had cancer, and probably until after the baby was born, that's when it really hit me.
Yeah.
So just with depression all the way through my pregnancy. But I think it was mainly because I was withholding the fact that I've been diagnosed with it, and I was just like playing it down to everybody.
Yeah.
So that's the way I deal with things, and it's just, yeah, it's not the right way to deal with it, but I hold it back. And then now with your group and everything and the chatting, it's really made me talk more openly about it. So it's good.
Good. That makes me happy. So with your pregnancy, how far along you said when you found out you had melanoma?
I think I was about 18 to 20 weeks, something like that. That's when I first went to go and have I went in because I had morning sickness really badly.
Okay.
Not mornings, just nausea. Yeah, so I went in just saying I've got nausea, and oh, by the way, doc, can you just check my leg? I've got a itchy mole that's been doing my head in since January, and this was in April. And he was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to get you transferred straight away. 2 weeks, 2-week wait. I think it was less than 2 weeks because I was pregnant. And it was literally like, right, we're going to do the biopsy now, take it. And then I was obviously really shocked 2 weeks later at the results.
Mine was itchy too. Was it like how large was it? Would you say like an eraser or bigger?
I would say smaller than the end of an eraser.
Yeah.
But it wasn't there before. And it was the fact it was itching all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like dark brown on one side and then light on the other, like a fleck of, like it was almost bleeding under my skin.
Yeah.
Hard to describe. But
No,
very, very
mine
small.
was the same. Mine was the same right here. I would scratch it with this itch and
the itching was driving me mad. I kept thinking that it was like a trapped hair in my work trousers or something.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Yeah.
So you got the results right away, and then
and then they said you're going in for surgery within 2 weeks. So I was like, okay. So then
they went to check your lymph nodes.
No lymph node surgery. It was just the actual leg. But what the size that they did take out was quite a lot larger than what I expected.
Really?
I expected probably something of about 2 inches, 3 inches.
Yeah.
But they basically swiped right across the front of my leg. So, which as I've got fatter through pregnancy, it looks smaller now.
Oh my gosh. So when you had that, like, what part of, like, obviously the pregnancy shifted, because when you're pregnant, you're like so excited and it's like, oh, I'm having a baby, and everything's just kind of like you're on that like pregnancy high, I guess you could say. So
I had totally the opposite.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so that shift with cancer in there, like what would you say the biggest change for you was right then and there, as far as the pregnancy goes, and that, like, what did you do differently from there?
I think I was mainly in denial. A lot of the time, but in my inner self I knew that it was bad, but I didn't express that to anybody else, nobody else. Right. So I always literally played it down, which obviously just made my anxiety even worse because I wasn't talking about it. My mother-in-law died, you see, of melanoma related cancer about
Oh,
6
God.
years ago. So I played it down to my husband as well, even though he knows,
Do you
because my
think
mom was in exactly the same place as hers.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think you played it down just for the sake of just their feelings or more of yours or both?
Both, I think,
Yeah.
because I think if I started talking about it, then it's real,
I
and
understand that.
I didn't really want to talk about it and make people feel sorry for me, because
Hmm.
I'm just not that kind of person. But
Right.
when I do start on something, then I can't stop.
Right.
So like
So,
now, I'm plugging it because I feel confident too.
so
That yeah,
what made you change between not talking about it and now wanting to be a little more open about it, would you say?
I think it's the fact that I knew I was suppressing my feelings, which was obviously affecting my children, and it affected my pregnancy and everything else like that. So I knew if I talked about it and be more open about it, then I'd be able to get on with my life better.
Yeah.
It's something that I've spoke about with my counsellor as well, different things, and it's all because I'm suppressing everything.
Right.
So I'm not
So
talking.
do you think that stress kind of just ate away at you a little bit?
Oh,
Just
totally. Yeah, yeah. Just the anxiety was just on another level, like you couldn't sleep.
Oh, I bet.
Anxiety. So, and it's affected me more mentally than physically. And I know like a lot of cancer patients out there have gone through the whole gruel like yourself, of, immunotherapy and chemo, radiation. But I want people to know it really affects you mentally, even if you haven't had to go through that stage.
100%. I think,
Uh,
but especially when you're early on diagnosed, you feel so like just withdrawn from everyone around you, even though they're your family and they love you and they want to support you. You can't help but just feel so like disconnected almost.
yeah, yeah. And you
Well,
don't want to worry them as well.
exactly. So you carry the burden of your own feelings plus your entire family. So
Yeah,
I totally understand that. I did that a lot too. I would downplay things or I would just like tell them what happened and then, just move on real quickly and be like, okay, I don't want to
yeah,
talk about it. I'm telling you what happened, but then we're moving on.
yeah.
So I
Same.
totally understand that completely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I mean, my daughter was just 2 weeks old when I got re-diagnosed. So I wasn't pregnant, but I feel that mommy connection thing where you're just feeling almost like your child's getting cheated because you're so not engaged, I guess, to them like you should be.
Exactly, yeah. I think until I had the placenta results back to say that they were clear,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't enjoy my newborn for that period until I knew that I hadn't passed it on to him through the placenta. So
Oh,
I
wow.
had to wait 6 weeks for that. But as soon as I had that result, what a massive weight off my shoulders, to know that it hadn't gone into him. Or I know that the risk is very slim, but that risk is still there,
There,
So
yeah.
yeah, and you've just answered a question actually that I was going to ask you about how you felt after you'd got diagnosed, after you'd had, and did it, suppress your feelings towards the baby at all?
I had a kindergartner as well, and she had just started, and it was like so exciting for her. And but I also felt like I was cheating her too because, like she'd come home and it would be like she'd be so excited and just want to like talk about her day. And I just felt I felt like I just wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Withdrawn,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I tried so hard both for both of them to keep their lives as normal as I could and not ever let cancer affect who they were and them growing up.
yeah,
That was
exactly,
my
yeah,
main goal.
yeah.
We
As
always,
hard as it is.
it is so hard because it's constant, the appointments and the going and doing all these things. And I just never wanted them to feel like, oh, my mom has cancer and like have to feel like they had to tell their friends and feel twisted about it.
Yeah,
It was something I really strived really hard for. So
yeah.
hopefully I did that. I don't know. I've never really asked him about that.
I'm just thankful mine are small and they won't remember how I was feeling and being withdrawn. So
No,
hopefully,
agreed. I agree.
yeah,
Mine were young too. And my kindergartner, I mean, I don't know. if she remembers a lot. I haven't really spoken to her much about that, but yeah, when they're young, it's good because it's hard to raise children going through cancer because of all the feelings and what we're talking about, but it's also like physically hard because the
Yes.
mentally part takes you and drains you. And so you're tired and you're just like worn down, and plus you got to change diapers, go to the grocery store, do all these mom things. And being a mom of
Yeah.
cancer is really hard.
Yeah.
What would you say your hardest part about the mom and the cancer thing? Like what would you say is like something you would want people to know, I guess, being a cancer mom?
Trying to put on that, trying to obviously make sure that I look happy to my 2-year-old, put on like a facade almost.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. I discussed it with other people, and it's pretty common to just plod through life but pretending you're happy to your children, and that was basically what I was doing. It was just like a screen of mum would come up and then wouldn't let them see me when I was sad or moody.
Yeah. No, I get that. I used to go in the bathroom and cry alone and just like let it out while they were playing so I could just not let them feel my pressure of trying to just make it through the day. It makes me want to cry just talking about it. It's a tough, I think being a cancer mom is probably the toughest job ever. It's a lot to be able to raise them and make them feel loved and grow up happy and then try and just survive the day. So kudos to you, really.
And you, honestly.
No, thank you. I appreciate that so much. So do you want to ask me anything?
My page just flipped.
I can just take over and ask 1,000 questions, but I don't want to.
How did you feel about when you were first diagnosed, about telling your friends and family about your diagnosis?
Let's see. So when I was very, very first diagnosed, it was 2006. When I had that itchy mole, I was the same. It was just kind of like, oh God, this is itching me and irritating me. Like, and people used to say, like, you have something on your arm. Is that like chocolate? And I was just like, okay, people are noticing it's itching. I've got to get it off. So I took just a regular dermatologist. I had my 3-year-old with me, my husband. I mean, we were so naive to the fact of what we were getting ourselves into. But once they removed it, I mean, it was pretty clear that there was something wrong. It was like, okay, we're going to remove this now. We're going to test it. And maybe it's going to be skin cancer. And I just was like everybody else in the world. Oh, skin cancer? Cool. I can remove it and we'll be good. I had no idea what I was up against. But when they came back with the results, it was like a month later I had to wait because they had it double test. They tested it again in New York, so they sent it off twice. But I was sitting down doing homework because I was in the middle of going to school to be a nurse. So I was sitting down doing homework. My daughter was at school. I remember this so vividly. My 2-week-old was sitting in her bassinet sleeping, and I was doing math homework. And they called, and it was, Katie, are you alone? What's, this conversation they give. And when they told me, I mean, it was almost like I was an out-of-body experience. It's almost like I heard them, but didn't really hear it, that it was happening to me, And so I told my husband first because he was at work. He came home right away, and it was just like, it was so fast. Everything just started happening so fast. You got to find an oncologist. You got to do this. And it was just like a robot mode. Like, I don't feel like I ever processed that I had cancer for so long. But when I told my family, I mean, it was like they were supportive, and my dad was like, it's going to be okay, honey. No worry. They were all just like trying. I called them all on the phone because I didn't want to see their face. I didn't want to see how they felt because I'm breaking their heart. I was hurting their feelings. And to me, that was hurting me worse. So I had to do it over the phone. And sometimes I had to let my husband do it because I couldn't bring myself to say, like, I have cancer. I'm sorry. I'm going to hurt you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's really tough. It's
No, it really is.
it's tough
I think
words to say to somebody, you know.
yeah. So you didn't play it down at all as just skin cancer when you were telling them?
I mean, at the time, at the time, yes, because at the time it was like the doctor said, okay, you know, you have skin cancer. It's very possible that this is a first time removal and you're going to be okay. But then they said, like, you know, we have to do a lymph node biopsy and it's going to be surgery and we need to check if it spread. So that word spread changed me forever.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though it came back negative at first. So when it came back negative, it was like a light bulb switched. It was almost like, okay, well, I can put the cancer away. I don't have it, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
So it just depended on the words of I guess how my body or how my mental state went, you know, what they were saying to me at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers the question, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
all over question.
And what did your friends do to make it more bearable for you? Like the whole process of when you found out to, you know, the end of your treatments?
I had a couple friends that really stood by me a lot in the beginning. One or two or three that kind of stuck through the whole thing. But in the beginning, I had like when I was going through back to back kind of like surgeries and finding out really major, like my brain and my uterus was like 2 weeks apart, and it was in December too, like around Christmas. I couldn't do any shopping. I couldn't do anything. So I really felt just like a bad mom at that point. So I had two really good friends from high school, and they were so sweet. They went shopping for my kids, bought them probably $200 worth of clothes and toys, and they
Oh,
also cooked food and froze it all. Like had these meals prepped for me for a good 2.5 weeks. It was the
oh,
sweetest thing I think I've ever had from. They really saved me that Christmas because I couldn't do anything.
no.
But I've had, you know, a lot of friends come through at surgeries and they would be there when I woke up, and, you know, I always told people when you're around me, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to be normal. I want you to come over and I want to be friends and I want to hang out and I want to talk about other things. If if you
Yeah.
have questions, we'll talk about it in the beginning, get it out of the way, and then I want to be a normal person. I want you to
Yeah.
be not look at me with the sad eyes. I want you to look at me like we're friends and we just went to the mall yesterday, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I wanted to feel normal as much as I could.
Yeah.
So,
Um, how are you living life differently since you're now a survivor?
my life has probably changed the most this year because I've really tried to open up a lot about my story, and I didn't do that before. I was I rarely spoke about it. My all my like my social media page, I probably posted one thing a year. It was about my
Yeah.
brain surgery. It was the same day every year, but that was pretty much it. Like I just kind of felt like people knew about it. If they asked me, I would talk about it. But I feel like now I'm just more open and honest, and a lot. It's made me a better person overall, probably stronger.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like I really what like even this whole melanoma awareness stuff that I'm doing with everybody else, like to me that feels so much more rewarding than had I not done anything at all.
Oh,
And
yeah, definitely.
yeah, like these little conversations right now, like I would have never been able to do that even a year and a half ago. So
No, I'm rubbish at it, but
I'm glad that you're taking the risk on and with you and being open, and I know it's not easy.
no,
So
I think it's time that I'm at that point now where I want to tell people,
mhm.
mainly for mental awareness, more so because I don't know anything about the physical.
No,
I
that's
only have
good
time.
though.
But yeah, just to beware, because it doesn't just affect. It's not just about having a piece of skin cut out of your leg.
Mhm.
It's what it does to you mentally, and that's what I'm more concerned about. Because mental health, I don't know about in America, but at the minute in the UK, it's a massive, massive. That they're pushing to make people go and see the doctor and whatever else. So,
Mhm.
but they never talk about the cancer, anxiety, or depression. It's
Yeah,
always other things. Yeah.
that's so true. And I agree with you on that. I think everyone goes through a huge depression. It may be long, it may be short, it may be, frequent. And I think it's a huge part that people need to acknowledge,
Mm.
because you're 100% right. It's not just the surgeries and the pain and the cutting out. And there's so much more that goes into cancer than, you know,
It's how you deal with it as a person, knowing that you should talk to people,
yeah.
make yourself feel better at the end of the day.
Yeah. And
Uh,
opening up is probably the hardest part, but once you do it, you're like, okay, relief is off my shoulders. I can, speak up from here on out, and I'm not afraid.
yeah, I was the same when I put my first Instagram post up about my surgery. Everybody was shocked because obviously they knew me, but I hadn't spoke about it,
Yeah.
and they were like, I didn't even know you'd gone through that.
Yeah.
Because I don't really share my private life or anything else. I'm
Yeah.
even though I do spam a lot on Instagram and Facebook, it's mainly memes or just pictures of my kids.
Yeah.
But to do something personal was, well, very different for me,
Yeah.
personality-wise.
No, I
So,
totally understand that. I was the same way. I didn't ever really speak about it. So my first post, I remember I had so much anxiety. I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, am I really doing this? Do I really want to go down this road? And
yeah,
um, but post after post, it just kind of like started to feel normal and good. And it's just getting to that point where you're ready. Once you're ready, it's go time from there.
yeah, yeah. And if you can help people along the way, then all
Yeah.
the better. Yeah.
That is 100% my goal. So, what about your family? Like, how was it for your parents? And do you have siblings? Like, how did that go?
Um, See, my sister had just had a rough year. She ended up in a coma the year previously due to anaphylactic shock. So she was dealing with that mentally herself. So I also didn't want to burden her too much about it. We just lost my
Right.
nan to lung cancer. It was just a horrible,
Wow.
horrible year the year before. And I didn't want to burden everybody with the okay year that we were having.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, yeah, so my husband was great. My friends were great, the ones that I did tell, and but as I say, I played it down.
Yeah.
But now they've realised what effect it's had on me because I've been talking about it on Instagram and
Okay.
to them and whatever. They've all said, I didn't realise you were going through that.
Yeah.
And I was like, but that's nobody's fault. That's mine for not expressing my feelings to anybody.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
don't feel bad. Nobody feel bad because it's none of your fault. It's just the way that I deal with things inside.
Yeah. No
So,
kidding. No kidding.
uh,
So, I want to touch a little bit on the coronavirus, and obviously, we're all battling that huge pandemic. So, what kind of things have you guys done that's changed for your family and for you? And
well, we locked down 2 weeks before they told us to lock down because we actually had the symptoms: the sore throat, the cough.
oh wow,
I was in bed for 2 days. Hubby was in bed for 2 days. The,
wow,
the kids the kids just had coughs, which was really lucky, but obviously still panicky.
yeah,
But to be honest, they had their coughs before me, and then I was the next one to get it. And then I realised, like, oh my goodness, it wasn't just a child's snotty cough.
right,
I've probably had COVID-19, but they're not testing people over here. Wasn't testing you to see if you had it straight away.
yeah,
Wasn't enough tests. But I'm pretty certain that a household of four of us, we've had
had
it.
it. Wow.
Yeah.
So you just had the
So,
cough and the like. What were your worst symptoms? Would you say overall?
the cough and the burning, horrible pain that you get in your lungs.
Really?
So yeah, like in your back. I don't know. I've never felt my lungs before, but while I had that, I felt there was something seriously wrong with my lungs. Like I could feel them like inside my ribs. I was But every time I took a deep breath, it'd make you cough. But you want to take a deep breath because you feel like
Right.
you need to expand your lungs. And
Right.
yeah, I'd never had anything. I've had flu before and other
Yeah.
things, but it was just
You
a
never
strange
felt
one.
anything like that.
And it was, I said to my husband, it was strange how 1 minute you're really poorly and the next minute it's like a switch just turns off and you're actually okay.
How long did that last, would you say?
7 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you think you guys had it? Would you say that
Wait,
for
I would
sure?
say so.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So I was
I'm so
getting
glad
really
you're
angry with the
all
news
okay.
because they kept telling everybody, like, don't go out if you've got a temperature. And I was like, but we didn't get a temperature until the symptoms really kicked in. So that means I've been symptomatic for probably 4 days before that,
Right.
and I've been shopping and I didn't have a temperature because I thought I was safe.
Right.
So
Right.
you can see how this spreads so
Yeah.
viciously because you don't show any signs. And then all of a sudden, bam, you get this
Mhm.
tickly cough, dry throat, sore throat, however it affects you, because it affects
Yeah.
everybody a lot differently. But yeah.
That is a crazy
Uh,
thing.
but
I'm so glad you're all okay and you guys all recovered fine and
yeah, I think they're going to lift lockdown. Hopefully, well, they're going to take some lighter measures on it.
yeah.
On Sunday, I've forgotten who he's called. Boris Johnson's going to announce what we can do and to just ease the
Mother's Day,
restrictions
he's
a
going
little
to
bit.
talk about it.
You what? Sorry,
So he's going to tell you guys on Mother's Day because I think the 10th.
it's not our Mother's Day. We've already had ours. Ours was in March.
Oh yeah, that's
So
right.
yeah,
So you like for us, we're supposed to be in Arizona supposed to be lifted on the 15th. They just opened up salons today actually. So like
right.
hair salons and nail salons are open as of today.
I
Um
know.
but Arizona has been they've had lockdown, but it wasn't but like weird things were open, like golf courses were open and car dealerships were open and you would go out and it would look like a normal day. It was the weirdest lockdown I think I've ever been through.
Well, it's just odd, isn't it, that you would have non-essential people going out to work, risking their lives to go and sell a
Yeah.
car,
Yeah.
or the staff that have to work at the golf courses,
Mhm.
to risk their lives to be. Yeah,
Like
no, it's
like golf.
not fair, is it?
No, and
So
our cases keep rising. Like, it's in my county especially, we have the largest amount of cases, and I don't go anywhere without a mask. And I'm like super freak about everything. My kids probably going to kill me one day because I've kept them inside and they barely
no, you do.
gone out of the light of day. But
You're doing the right thing. I mean, everybody at high risk here. I don't know if you're classed at high risk, being ex
I'm
chemo
like
or whatever,
medium.
but
I'm a medium risk
medium.
because I have like
Yeah. So
I have a
because it could have affected your immune system. So
yeah. Well, and I have
yeah,
like a third of a lung on the right side, so
yeah,
they didn't. My doctor's like, just be careful and obviously do the right thing. So we kind of did that.
yeah. So they're saying 12 weeks here for anybody with severe things, anybody over 70 and that's had certain illnesses, asthma, transplants, cancer patients have got
Yeah.
to be on complete lockdown and have food brought to the door and they mustn't go out
Yeah.
to ease the pressure off the NHS health service here.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's worked. The deaths are going down now. They're saying that we've reached our peak,
Good.
but I've stopped watching the news now because it gets a little bit repetitive and
It is. It is.
depressing.
It's
I'm
like
happy watching Baby Shark.
of it. That's funny. Funny. Um, let's see. I was going to ask one other question. So, as far as like your vision for what you're going for now, talking about your story, like what is your hope from here, or for like?
I have been thinking about whether we could start a campaign. This would be just Britain though, because when we go for our skin checks here,
Mhm.
after being diagnosed with melanoma, you're expected to tell them about a change on you, which obviously you would do.
Mhm.
But I know you can go to places and they check every single mole, head to toe, on your
Mole
body, and I think
mapping.
that should be done.
Yeah.
Is that the case with you?
No, yeah, you can do mole mapping. I know
Mm.
there's a gal, I don't know if you follow her. She's in the UK. She's pretty big. I should send you her page. She's trying to ban tanning beds, and she's got a really big voice for melanoma. I'll send you her page. She's really great. But yeah, that's so yeah, mole mapping
Yeah,
is
so it's
everything you can do.
encourage the NHS to check the moles that we can't see. So my husband might not notice, say, something behind my ear, or
On your
but if
head.
they've got that thing, but they're relying on you to say, what have you got that's changed?
Yeah.
And that petrifies me, because I'm like, well, what if I haven't seen something?
Yeah, no, it's so true.
Why can't they just look at me and go, actually, that's a bit different, so let's just have a look at that. So that scared me, because I was expecting a full head to toe when I went for my first appointment, and then obviously I know what to expect now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's I believe she is trying to get a mole mapping machine. She was raising money prior to the coronavirus situation, but yeah, I'll hook you up with her. She's really great. She's in the UK. I don't know where you guys are as far as distance, but she's really big on melanoma awareness, and her dad passed away from it, and she had a mole on her leg that she had removed, and she's like your situation, where that was it for her right there as far as melanoma went, but she's wants to make a difference, and she's really great. So I'll definitely do that for you.
Oh yeah, brilliant. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I've got just one more question for you. If you were to campaign about just one thing to help the next generation, what would that be?
That's a very good question. If I could put my stamp on one thing that has to do with melanoma, it would probably be to be aware of your skin, hands down. I don't think people know what they're looking for on their body, and I don't think that they are even thinking twice to look. So nice. Hands down, it is just taking that time to just review yourself. And anything that you look at it and go, what is that? That is something you need to go to the doctor about. And like teenagers and up, they don't know what they're doing. No. And I try really hard to implement that with my daughter and her friends, and I'm always on them about sunscreen. But I think 100% it's just to watch your body and the changes that it's making, because, at 26 years old, I had no clue that my body was changing still. You just don't think about it that way.
No.
So that
I'll just point out as well to anybody that's watching that on my forehead, just here, you can't even see it.
Yeah.
I've got suspected basal cell carcinoma there, and under my eye just here.
See, and nobody would know that.
All I thought it was a patch of eczema-y dry skin, but when I went to go and get my mole checked, I said, oh, just have a look at my head here. I keep picking it and scratching it, and it doesn't heal, and then it will heal, and then I'm getting a crater. And he went, oh yeah, he said, we'll take a photo and everything, and I'm now waiting for my biopsy on that, but he did say it's basal cell, don't worry about it, we'll operate on it after you've had your baby. But obviously with COVID and everything else like that, I'm still waiting for that.
Right.
But I got told it's no urgency. So, but it's still cancer, and people should still look out for it.
100%. It's just people don't know what they're looking for, or they don't. It's the knowledge of what skin cancer is, and it's not just a dark spot. There are clear ones. There's basal cell. My dad's had plenty removed. He was a big golfer when I was growing up. He never wore hats or sunscreen. So like he's had so many things removed, his ear, nose, up through here, on his arm. Luckily it's been all basal cell, but especially the generation prior to us and, them growing up, sunscreen, nobody knew sunscreen. So yeah, it's just definitely being aware of your body and the changes that it's making.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you? That's a really good question.
What is it? I can't remember.
The generation. If you were going to put a stamp on them.
Oh.
Big question. It's a good one.
I don't know. Probably the same. Just to be more skin aware. Mm-hmm. And for people not to just concentrate on the melanoma side, even though that is the worst.
Yeah.
But if you have how do you say it? Squamous?
It's hard to say. Squamous cell carcinoma.
Squamous cell, yeah. That's quite bad. bad, you know,
Yeah.
and that does look a little bit like basal cell, so it might be blown off,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the early stages. So I think it's about making just people more aware.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having these skin check facilities in the UK as well. I know they have them in Australia at the
Mm-hmm.
beach where you can go and get your moles checked. I think there needs to be something set up in the UK here as well. I mean, it's
I
been 24 Celsius here today,
yeah.
which is warm for the UK.
Yeah.
So on days like that, when I think there should be like some kind of teams that go to these hotspot beaches and
Mm-hmm.
test them like they do in Australia and the other hot countries, because
I
it's getting
agree.
just as bad here as well.
Yeah, I agree. It should be everywhere. I think, you know, and I don't know if this is for you, but like there's so much pink everything all the time. Breast
Yeah,
cancer, which is great. I'm not putting any of that aside because they deserve that credit. But I also feel like there are so many others that deserve that same sort of acknowledgement. It's like for my daughter, even her school does so much breast cancer. They have a whole like spirit week of like pink this and pink that. And I
yeah,
hope one day that people realize how much skin cancer needs that kind of recognition, because these kids, this generation and the generation after, need to know what they are looking at and what they need to
yeah.
be aware of. And I just don't feel like that's even some parents don't even realize how much it needs to be spoken about.
No, I know it really does, and to protect your kids from a really, really early age,
Yeah.
because obviously it has detrimental effects in the years to come.
Yeah.
You know, I'm covered in freckles. Can you see?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely
I
covered.
got a bunch of them. My
The
daughter,
the
yeah,
sun damage on my shoulders
yeah.
from and the damage on my shoulders from when I was 12
Oh wow. See,
was,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
You do
So,
that
and
young at a young age, and it's long-term effects are so severe.
I was wearing sun cream, but I've been in the pool all day, and I don't think like anybody had reapplied me or,
Yeah.
you know, throughout the day, because being 12, well, it's not cool, is it?
Right.
But
People
it needs to be made the normal to
Mhm.
do it.
I agree.
Um,
People apply it once and then that's it.
mm,
So yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's kind of my goal with this whole thing I wanted to do this month, is to get, you know, a lot of people together and to stand out and have, like, I think this collaboration photo we did yesterday has really, people are just like, wow, and it stopped people, and a lot of people have looked at it, and um, that's good for me. That's what I'm trying
yeah,
to
no,
do, and my goal is just for people to acknowledge what is going on with skin cancer and how
yeah.
it's, you know, unfortunately growing, and you know, all that. So yeah, I hope it goes well and people acknowledge that it is something to worry about.
I've had a few shares on Facebook from that as well, so that's good.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it means that people are taking notice.
yeah, which makes me
Um,
happy.
yeah.
Well, do you have any other questions for me, or?
Um, I was going to say, if you noticed something on somebody's skin that you didn't really know that well,
Mhm.
would you say something to them, you know, about getting them checked? And if you did, how would you approach that?
That's a good question. Well, actually, it's kind of okay. So a friend of my, actually, my daughter's friend, my youngest, her mom had a really, really large mole right here. I think it might have been on her nose. It was somewhere around here. And I
Mm.
didn't know her very well. But the second I saw her, I just wanted to be like, go to the dermatologist, please. You need to, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so I kind of left it alone for a little bit. But I think it was like the fourth time I saw her, I was like, I don't know if you know, but I'm a skin cancer survivor. Have you ever got that checked out?
Mm.
That's kind of how I approached it. It was like,
Yes.
I'm coming from a good place. I'm not coming from, I'm attacking you. It's like, I know what it's been like and I want to support you. That's kind of how when I
Yeah.
said I'm a survivor, have you ever? That's kind of how I felt when I was passing that message along. And I also did it to my nephew, who they live in Vegas. And So my sister-in-law actually, he had a really like big mole, I think somewhere around his neck. And after she helped me through a lot of my stuff, she was like, okay, I got to get him looked at. So it's just, I think, like we're doing, sharing stories actually makes people go, wow, okay, I need to stop. I had a friend who would go to tanning beds all the time. She stopped tanning now. She reached out and was like, your story made me stop. And I appreciate you for that. So honestly, it's just approaching people with like the comfort, I guess, and saying like, I'm here for you. I want to support you. Please go look at that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Put both your minds at rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I could sleep if I saw somebody with something and I just left it alone.
No, I'd be the same. But then I can sometimes come across a bit preachy, and I don't really want to be that person. So I might be the same, mention it the first time, leave it, and then mention it maybe a few weeks later when I see them. But yeah.
So the best approach I would say would just be like I said, like, hey, I'm a skin cancer survivor. Like, I think maybe you should go check that out, or have you ever? Or I'm suggesting maybe you should. That's kind of how I would go about it.
Yeah.
From there, it's kind of their choice, but some people just don't know, like we said, what they're looking at.
No.
So yeah, that would be it for me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me.
No problem. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Yes, I'm so glad to get to know you, and we can support each other, and anytime you need to talk about anything, I'm here for you. So,
And the same.
Okay. Well, good
Okay.
talk to you. I'll talk to you later then.
Yeah, speak to you later. Bye. Bye.